what death is.
Halloween 2 is directed by Rick Rosenthal. This is a horror slasher thriller film. This is the sequel to John Carpenter's Halloween from 1978. This film stars Donald Pleasance as Dr. Samuel Loomis, Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode, Charles Cyphers as Sheriff Lee Brackett, Lance Guest as Jimmy Lloyd, Hunter Von Leer as Deputy Gary Hunt, Nancy Stevens as Nurse Marion Chambers, Gloria Gifford as Mrs. Alves, and Dick Warlock as Michael Myers, the Shape. This film is rated R for sex, nudity, violence, gore, profanity, alcohol, drugs, smoking, and intense, frightening images. This is not a movie for young children. I would say 20 years of age and older. This film has a runtime of 1 hour and 32 minutes. Halloween 2 was released in theaters in the United States on Friday, October 30th, 1981. Picking up right where John Carpenter's Halloween leaves off, more of the night he came home, Dr. Sam Loomis discovers that Michael Myers the Shape is still alive, even after being shot 6 times in the heart, and he has fled from the front yard of the Doyle house and is now walking around Haddonfield bleeding from his wounds. Michael goes into an elderly couple's house, the Elrods, and steals a knife and then kills a young high school girl in the next house over. Loomis meets back up with Sheriff Lee Brackett, and they both drive all over town trying to find and stop Michael. Laurie Strode is taken to the hospital so she can get treatment for her injured foot and ankle and for the wound on her left shoulder where Michael sliced her. Michael eventually learns where she was taken and makes his way to Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, where he gets into the building through an open ambulance bay door. And throughout the night, he stalks, kills, and slaughters almost everyone in the hospital, trying to find Laurie. He eventually finds her. Laurie, who is limping around and drugged up with pain medicine, flees through the hospital trying to get away. She gets away through an elevator in the hospital basement, which leads her out to the parking lot. She hides in the passenger floorboards of one of the parked cars. In another part of town, after finding out some new information about Michael Myers from Nurse Marion Chambers, Dr. Loomis, Marion, and a deputy marshal make their way to the hospital to find Michael and Laurie. Laurie gets out of the car after seeing Loomis, Marion, and the marshal drive up and go into the hospital. She tries to yell for help, but they don't see or hear her. She gets to her feet, and just as she does, Michael shows up outside the hospital just a few yards from her, and she starts running towards the front door of the hospital, yelling for help and beating on the door. Loomis gets her in just in time. Michael walks through the plate glass door, and Loomis shoots him a few more times, and he falls on the ground onto his back. The marshal goes to check on Michael, and Marion goes out to the marshal's car to use the radio to call the police to get them out to the hospital. Michael wakes up and kills the deputy marshal with his scalpel. Loomis and Laurie start running through the hospital hallways trying to evade Michael. They make it into one of the surgery rooms, and Loomis gives Laurie an extra loaded revolver handgun. As Michael breaks through the door, Loomis tries to shoot him, but his gun is empty, and Michael stabs him with his surgical scalpel. Loomis falls back, but he is still alive. As Michael starts approaching Laurie, she picks up the handgun and shoots him twice, once in each of his eyes, and he starts bleeding from his eyes, which the blood runs down his mask. Now, with his sight impaired, Michael cannot see, so he just starts swinging his arm with his scalpel out, hoping to kill Laurie and Loomis. Both of them start turning on the gas and oxygen in the surgical room. Loomis tells Laurie to run out of the room. She gets out and runs down a hallway, getting away from that room, and hides behind a water fountain. Back in the surgical room, Loomis takes a cigarette lighter out of his pocket and says to the Shape, "It's time, Michael." He lights it up and the room blows up. Michael makes it out of the room totally engulfed in flames, and Laurie watches his body fall to the ground as it burns up. A few hours later, EMTs transport Laurie to another hospital out of town, with Laurie now traumatized for life. Okay, that's the summary and synopsis of Halloween 2. Here are my negatives for the film. Nick Castle did not return to play Michael Myers the Shape. Instead, we got stunt coordinator Dick Warlock playing Michael Myers. I will admit I did not like his version of Michael Myers. He walked too slowly and his movements were very, very stiff and very jerky at times. I mean, it was like almost like a stiff robot. It was like, like that. It wasn't smooth like Nick Castle's movements were. And I just felt like his walk was too slow. And, when he went to stab, he was like, like that. And that just bothered me at times. He didn't do it all the time, but majority of the time throughout the film, he does. The mask was the same mask they used in the first movie, but after the first movie, it was kept in a box under Deborah Hill's bed, and she smoked quite a lot, which ended up turning the mask a yellowish, brownish, kind of dirty-looking color. I am not sure if they repainted it before principal photography on Halloween 2, but if they did, they should have put more than one coat of that fish belly white paint color on it just to see if they could make it look a lot whiter, like as white as it was in the first Halloween, and try to get rid of that yellowish brownish color that it had turned as it appears on screen in this film. It was just ugly and dirty looking. I mean, it works, but I just wish it had been the same color as the first film. There are some pacing issues with this film, especially the scenes where Michael is just wandering aimlessly throughout Haddonfield Memorial Hospital. And speaking of that hospital, that is the worst run hospital I've ever seen. There's hardly like anyone there, and it is so big, and they have very few people working there, and just the way things are done, it is terrible. I mean, I'm no doctor, I'm no nurse, I'm no hospital administrator, but I think I could run that hospital better than these idiots. The only one that seems to know what the hell she is doing is the head nurse, Mrs. Alves. But had I been a patient at that hospital, I would have said, I'm leaving, I'm not staying here. This hospital sucks. And I would have had my friend or parents or a family member drive me up to a better hospital like Cook County or something like that in Chicago. I've been like, yeah, I'm not staying here. I hated the EMT character of Bud Scarlatti, played by Leo Rossi. This character was such an asshole. He's the jerk of the film and so unlikable. Plus, when he was talking to Nurse Janet and Jimmy in the hospital cafeteria about Michael Myers, the way he cusses at her was totally uncalled for. Plus, I felt like his character just did not fit in this movie. Now, I don't have a problem with people from New York. I like New Yorkers. I love the way they talk, but he just did not belong in this film. I mean, he had like a northern New Yorker accent to his voice, and I just felt like his character was totally out of place. I mean, what would a New Yorker be doing in the Midwest, being an EMT in middle America in Haddonfield, Illinois? It just didn't make sense to me. Maybe he's got family there, maybe he's got friends there, and he just decided to move there because he was tired of the big city or something, but yeah, I just felt like his character was out of place. And like I said, I don't have a problem with New Yorkers. I love their accents, but yeah, it just didn't work for me. The film looked very grainy. I don't know if they shot it that way, or if the filmmakers used a certain kind of camera filter, or if they used a certain kind of film stock to make it look grainy, or if that was how they wanted this film to look, or was that just something that happened that was out of their control. So those are my negatives. Now here are my positives. They made this look like the first film in terms of cinematography. Dean Cundy is once again the cinematographer, and he does a great job shooting this film as well. The shots are just as beautiful as the shots from the first film. I loved the score in this film as much as I liked the score from the first film. The score, again, is composed and conducted by John Carpenter with assistance from Alan Howarth. I like how they made the score with synthesizer sounds, and it gives it this more creepy feeling and sound. It just makes it kind of more spooky, eerie, just kind of, During the opening credits, I like how it is like the credits for the first film with the Halloween theme music playing, but it is different because we travel and zoom into the inside of the jack-o'-lantern to reveal a skull within the jack-o'-lantern, which was so cool. Jamie Lee Curtis gives another great performance as Laurie Strode. Donald Pleasant steps up his performance in this film, and since the events of the first film, we now see more of an urgency from the Loomis character, and now that he knows that Michael is not a man and something entirely evil, that they have to find him and stop him. So yeah, there's more of an urgency with him. I liked the character of Jimmy Lloyd. I thought he was sweet and compassionate, but there were times he was kind of creepy as well. I mean, he is older than Laurie, and he's like in college or something, and she's still a high school teenager. So yeah, and some of the things he would do, like rubber knuckles and stuff like that, it was just kind of weird. Just kind of like, dude, stop being creepy. So yeah. Then there was the head nurse named Mrs. Alves, played by actress Gloria Gifford. She was great, and you can tell she's a person of authority. And her portrayal of the head nurse of Haddonfield Memorial Hospital was amazing. I loved her character, and I wish we would have gotten more of her character, and it would have been interesting to see her character go up against the Shape. It was also good to see Nurse Marion Chambers back since the first part of the original movie. And in this film, she has some very important parts to play. They didn't just stick her in there just to say, here she is. But yeah, she had a very important role and something very important to do. Instead of Michael using a kitchen butcher knife in the hospital, I love how he decided to improvise and use a hospital surgical tool like a scalpel as his weapon of choice. Brilliant. Okay, those are all my positives. Now it's grading time. For the 1981 sequel to John Carpenter's Halloween, the movie Halloween 2, I'm going to give this film an A-. This is a good sequel movie. It does have problems like any other film, but it is not an awful movie. I love how it continues the story with the same characters on the same night. This is the film where we find out that Laurie Strode is the younger sister of Michael Myers, which I'm not sure how I feel about that particular story element. There are times that I like that story element, and then there are times that I just hate it. It just depends on how I'm feeling whenever I watch these movies. But either way, this is a great film, and it's worth the watch if you're a Michael Myers Halloween fan. I do own this film on DVD, but I hope to get it on regular Blu-ray or 4K Blu-ray soon. Okay, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Good night. God bless. I love all of you, and I will see you all in the next video. Happy Halloween.
Michael?
It's time, Michael.